Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I have a memorable story for you. This story is an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is a guy, he sounds like he's about 32, 33, and he shares his story about events that began 6 years ago with his now ex-girlfriend. And let me tell you guys, for you relationship guys, this story is definitely going to make you remember, at least I hope it does, to always keep your eyes open for red flags, even when it seems like everything is perfect. Because in this guy's story, his relationship with his now ex, let me tell you, it sounded like it was the dream. No problems, no red flags. But as he gets into the story, I definitely spotted a few very minor red flags, and unfortunately I was right. And he's writing in his story here for multiple reasons. One, to obviously share a story so guys are aware of the types of things that can happen. Never get too comfortable. Keep your eyes open for red flags. Also, to ask me if I could spot anything that he didn't see, which could have maybe helped him along the lines, as well as, let's be honest, entertainment factor. And you're going to see in this story, guys, once again, there's definitely a couple of lessons here. Let me put it this way. Number one, you must always remember the number one number that scares women, the age 30. They're terrified of turning 30 unless they have a ring on their finger. Either they are married by then, or at least they have a guy locked in. And many will speed things up when they have to accelerate the process to get a guy. You must be very much aware of this. Number two, as I say a lot of times, when a woman has a certain perception of you, they think you're a certain way, in other words, a nice guy that will always cave, they think that there's nothing that's going to get them to change their mind, and that's why they always pursue guys when they screw up, and the guys want nothing to do with them, as well as many other important things in this story. But definitely, this is a memorable one. So it starts off, he says here, hello SSM. I've been following your channel for around 4 months now, and some of the stories you shared, along with my own experience, have pretty much convinced me that modern relationships no longer work. Well, if I listened to my channel, if I was a guy found my channel and heard all these stories, I would think the same thing. And not to mention the fact of what this guy goes through. I wanted to send in my story with the hope that it might help some other guys out, and if not, give me some slaps. Maybe I deserve them, and I'm not sure if I'm blue-pilled, but I do know that I was far too trusting. After everything that happened, I don't think I have any trust left in me. As much as I hate the idea of not having a family someday, the world has gone too crazy to risk it. Bro, after what you went through in this story, I do not blame you one bit. Not one bit. And nobody will at the end of this story. Guaranteed. I know my parents aren't very happy about it, but I don't think they understand just how toxic dating has become. Bro, if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say that, so many guys say that in the stories they write me or the comment section. It's like the old the Will Smith song from like 40 years ago, parents just don't understand. Well, they didn't understand back then, and they don't understand right now. It is that screwed up out there. Sorry if I'm coming off as angry and ranting, but I'm angry and ranting. You can do everything right and still get punched in the gut. Bro, you deserve to be angry and rant, okay? You can go through that. It's important to go through that stage. Just don't stay that way forever. He says, my story covers the last 6 years of my life, but came to an end in August of 2022. I live in the Midwest, USA, but I don't want to give too many details since some of my friends and associates also watch your channel, and I haven't really shared any details with anyone. I think my parents, her, and her parents are the only ones that know what happened. Honestly, I'm more embarrassed at this point than angry, and I keep going over everything in my head to see if there were any signs I missed or ignored. But so far, I haven't come up with anything. Maybe you'll see what I missed, and I would appreciate any feedback so I don't fall into the same trap again down the road. Well, bro, when I heard your story not too long ago, there were some red flags, but they were very small. So it's very understandable how you didn't see them, etc., etc. I met my ex-girlfriend, almost fiance, in a mountain bike riding club that I'd been in for about 2 years. I'm not going to waste your time with the courtship, but we've been going out and having fun for about 6 months or so when she brought up the idea of being exclusive. So, that's very good that you hung back, dated her, and let her bring up the idea of getting into an exclusive relationship. That's the way to go. That shows her you're not too into her and you're not rushing things along. And that's the way to go. However, little red flag number one. It took her 6 months to want to be exclusive. That's a while for a gal that really likes a guy to get to that point. That immediately caught my attention there. We can call her Mandy. She was 24 at the time, and for the story, you can call me David. I was 26 at the time. We had a lot of things in common. Both of us came from intact families. Neither of us drank or go out or party, and we both put a lot of effort into our health. Early on, I knew she was different than women I've dated before because she was the first one that took me out to dinner and paid the bill, even against my protest. Little red flags number 2. So, got no problem with a girl paying for the meal, all that, but it seems like, obviously this is your first date or something like that. It seems like she's trying a little too hard to speed up the process. Asking you out, taking you out, paying for the dinner, almost like she's trying to really rope you in. And remember, what did he say about her age? 24 years old. Mid-20s, that's when a lot of the gals realize, okay, I'm done being wild, done riding the carousel, had fun with the bad boys, the guys I really liked, they don't want to settle down, so I got to find myself that nice guy. You've all heard this, a common pattern, common theme to the stories I do, guys. Another thing she did without me saying anything was as soon as we started dating officially, she cut off going out with her single friends. Well, that's a good thing. She still kept in contact with them, but she never went out with them on girls' nights and other crap like that. Neither of us are religious, but we both were raised in fairly traditional households. I can go on a lot more, but I think these are very important details. Oh, we both wanted to have a family someday if we found the right person. I really thought our values lined up pretty well. So guys, you can see here how he thinks that, hey, this is working out pretty well. We got exclusive. She's the one that asked me out. She wanted to pay. She's the one that asked about getting exclusive. Family values are the same. The traditional gal doesn't want to do girls' nights, right? She's into health, working out. You can see where he thinks, okay, I may have actually got a good one. The town we live in is about a 3-hour drive from her hometown where her parents still live, and we made a point to go visit them at least once a month. Although there were times that my work schedule got in the way of me going, I didn't mind those times she went alone because she never gave me a reason to not trust her, and her parents loved me. So, sometimes, because of work, he doesn't always go along with her, and she goes off to see the folks by herself. Pay attention to that. Let's tuck that away, guys, into the memory banks for later on. Her parents reminded me of my own parents in a lot of ways, and her mom could cook like a champ. My own parents live across town, and we spent a lot of time with them as well. Mandy and my mom got along great and would often go out shopping together. I know there's no such thing as unicorns, but after being together for 5 years, she never wavered and had never given me a reason to doubt anything she said, and I honestly thought I hit the freaking jackpot. Bro, a lot of guys would think the same thing. I mean, really, and the red flags I pointed out are minor ones. You know, she and your mom got along, shopping, hanging out. How often does that happen, right? It was after we'd been together for a little more than 5 years that we started talking about our future together, and we knew we would eventually be married. You're probably all waiting for me to smack him at this point. Well, no, I'm not. Because again, you could hear I thought everything, the stars were aligned, everything was working out. And it was 5 years, not 5 months. If he said 5 months or a year, that'd be smacking him. 5 years, if he wants to do marriage, fine. He was 29 years old, 31 at this point. And it sounds like he's got reason to think that, okay, she might actually be worth it. We still had our own places, but agreed that after we were engaged, we'd move in together as a final check before we got married. Very sensible, I tell you to do that. Both of our families were very happy for us, and I think everyone involved were certain that a marriage was imminent. Our parents had gotten to know each other, and our mothers started occasionally spending time with each other. Good Lord, even the freaking in-laws hanging out together. I mean, again, stars aligned. They didn't hide their excitement that they were certain that they were going to have some grandchildren in the near future. I really thought my life was perfect. At that point, I knew that she was the one and had already talked to her father about marriage, but I still hadn't decided when I was going to ask her. There wasn't any rush, There never is, dude. I also talked to my own parents about everything, and they were pretty excited. I told them I was thinking about proposing, and I can still remember how happy my mom was. She actually gave me her mother's wedding ring to use as Mandy's engagement ring. I was going to let her pick out her own ring after proposing, but for the time being, it was perfect. The only thing I had to do was decide when I was going to propose. So now we're going to get into the part, guys, where it leads down to the eventual discovery that she wasn't the saint that he thought she was. And let me tell you, the way he finds out, it's going to be memorable. At first, I was planning on doing it after taking her out to a romantic dinner, but an opportunity fell into my lap that I couldn't pass up. We've been together for almost 6 years, and other than minor disagreements, we just fit. I'm not sure if I trust anyone that claims to have been in a relationship and says they never argue about anything. I guess it's possible, but even the best matched couples are going to have disagreements. Bro, some of the worst cheating stories I've ever heard came from guys telling the stories how they thought they were in the perfect relationship because they never fought, never disagreed about anything. And that, to me, is absurd, because I've been in enough relationships, and I'm sure many of you guys have been in enough relationships to know you can't have two people together around each other a lot without disagreement. I'm not talking about nasty fighting and throwing dishes and yelling at each other and that kind of bullshit. No, that doesn't fly. You end that relationship. I'm talking about just disagreements. And usually in those cases, that's usually when the guy is a yes man, just agrees, or yes ma'am, and agrees to everything she says. And she has no respect for him and cheats on him. No good deed goes unpunished. So I get it. I was actually a few days away from taking her out to dinner to propose, but a situation fell into my lap that I couldn't pass up. In June, Mandy got her invitation to her 10-year high school reunion that was scheduled for August. The reunion covered a Friday and Saturday. The first day was meeting up in the evening with everyone at the high school, and the following day was a luncheon at one of the local restaurants. I decided I was going to propose to her on that Saturday, but I wanted to surprise her with something that she would never forget. Well, you weren't totally wrong there. The events that are happening, she certainly will never forget. When she told me about the reunion, I told her I wasn't able to make it because of work commitments, and she was a little sad, but she said she understood. How sad was she really? In reality, I did have some work commitments, but only for that Friday. My plan was to drive up on the following day and propose to her before the events of Saturday started. It was supposed to be a luncheon around 1 p.m., and I figured I could get there early enough to have breakfast with her parents and then ask her before the luncheon. Okay, solid plan. He says, let's just say that it didn't go as well as expected. After I got off work that Friday, it was around 8 p.m. I went home, and after getting a shower, I texted Mandy asking how the reunion was going. She texted me back that she was having a lot of fun catching up with some old friends. I was both nervous and excited that I was going to ask her to marry me the following day. I texted her good night before I crawled into bed around 10 p.m., but it was a little after 11 p.m. that she texted me back, apologizing for not seeing my text and saying how much she missed me. Okay, let's remember this, how much she misses him part. I asked her how her night had gone, and she said she had a lot of fun catching up with her old friends and was back at her parents' house and getting ready for bed. I said goodnight to her and went to bed myself. If I got on the road by 6 a.m., I could make it to her parents' house by 9 a.m. When I woke up on Saturday morning, I got on the road just before 6 a.m., and on the way I texted her good morning around 7 a.m. She didn't text me back right away, like she normally did, but I figured she was out late with her high school friends and was sleeping in. I didn't think much of it. Well, as I say quite often, pay attention to a woman's actions. I made it to her parents' house a little after 9 a.m. During the drive, I kept imagining how happy she was going to be when I showed up to spend the rest of the weekend with her, but when I knocked on the front door, her mom answered and gave me a hug. I asked if Mandy was up yet, and she said she wasn't home. Wait a second. She told you that she was going to bed at the mom and dad's house that night before. Future mother-in-law must be mistaken. I guess she texted them the previous night that she had too much to drink and was spending the night at one of her girlfriends. That surprised me. In our almost 6-year relationship, she was never the one to get drunk, and from the text we had the previous evening, I thought she was at her parents' house. When I think about that day, I can remember being confused, but I figured that she probably went out and had fun and didn't want me to be worried. No big deal. I'm not completely against people drinking over the years, I've had my own experiences. I ended up having breakfast with her parents while I explained that I was there to ask her to marry me, and her mom was beside herself, while her dad looked pretty damn happy. Dude, you were in a great situation where her parents loved you like a son, let's be honest here, were so happy. I mean, what more could a guy ask for aside from all the other good things, right? I knew that the next event for her reunion was at 1 p.m., and I was pretty sure that she was going to come home before that so she could get cleaned up and change clothes, so I asked her parents not to tell her I was there. After breakfast, we all went out to their front porch while we were waiting for her to get home and talk about the wedding. I guess they were as certain that she was going to say yes as I was, and when we were having a lot of fun talking about the future. Of course, her mom was asking when we were going to stop dragging our feet and give them a grandchild. Hang on there, let us get married first and move in together and all that before rushing to have grandchildren. Plenty of time to have grandchildren, Mom. Their front porch is pretty big and screened in, like a room. It was a nice place to hang out, especially in the warmer months of the year. They call it the Florida room, but we weren't in Florida. From the front yard, you can't really see onto the porch unless it's at night with the lights on, but it always has a nice breeze going through it. This front porch they're all hanging out in which they can see out into the front of the house, the driveway, the street, but the people in the street can't see in. It's very important here. Pay attention to that. Imagine the setting. It was about 11:30 in the morning when a car pulled up in front of the house, and I could see Mandy in the front passenger seat. Well, who's driving? I can remember getting really nervous and then really confused. I expected the driver to be one of her girlfriends, but it was a guy. How strange. I was about to ask her parents if they knew who it was when I sat there stuck, mute, watching Mandy lean over and start making out with him. Remember this perfect relationship that he thought he had? And let me tell you, the way he described it, you could certainly see why he did, and a lot of guys would. Miss, I'm away with my friends, and here she is, pulling up, without a care in the world, making out with some dude. I'm sorry, bro, this sucks. It wasn't a little kiss on the cheek. That could be explained away. They were full on making out. I'm not sure if I was on my feet first or her dad. I was about to go out and find out what the hell was going on when she got out of the car, and I didn't hear everything she was saying. But I know the last thing I did hear was her telling the guy that she was looking forward to that evening. I have no idea what death feels like, but I think I was so close you can get outside of being can get outside of being a coffin. I think what snapped me out of my shock was hearing her mother crying. I felt sick and I was pissed, but mostly I think I was in shock. Dude, I'd be in shock too. And just all those years, 6 years you're with her, and in your view, you had no reason not to trust her, and you felt like you had an amazing thing, and there you go. As soon as Mandy opened the screen door and walked in, she froze, watching the three of us staring at her in complete shock. And this is the part we're going to hear. I can explain. You don't understand. It was a mistake. Blah, 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 blah. Remembering what happened next is still a little fuzzy, and I probably shouldn't have been driving. But I walked past her while she was crying and trying to explain whatever that was. Explain what? We all saw you making out with this dude. It's not like you were auditioning for a movie or something. Okay? You were cheating on me and lying to all of us. Her dad was shouting at her, and her mom was crying. Good for the dad. She tried to grab my arm a couple times while I was walking to my car, but I yanked it from her, got in my car, and made the longest 3-hour drive of my life. Bro, I'm so sorry this happened, and I'm so happy that nothing happened to you on that drive home. A lot could have happened in that state. I'd barely made it down the street when my phone started blowing up, but I'd seen enough and didn't want to hear any of her BS, so I just turned my phone off and headed home. Of course she's blowing up your phone. I can't imagine the bullshit text she was sending you. I wish I could say that I had some epic revenge, but I didn't. I remember calling my mom and telling her what happened on my drive home, and I did get a call from her dad later that night. He was apologizing to me, and he said that he and his wife sat Mandy down and demanded to know why she did it and who the guy was. She tried to claim that she was drunk and that it was a mistake. What'd I tell you about that? Blame the alcohol. It was a mistake. Bullshit. That's not a mistake. I'm loving that the dad is tearing her a new one. But her dad wasn't having any of that crap. It turns out that the guy was her ex-boyfriend from high school, and they would get together on the trips that she made without me. Remember in the beginning of the story, he said on occasion she'd go see her family without him because, he had to work or something? No big deal. There you go. The ex-boyfriend, the one that got away, probably the guy she really wanted to get to settle down, but obviously it wasn't marriage material. It was probably the bad boy type. So, found her guy. Remember how she asked him out, paid for dinner, roped him in early on, still taking her time for 6 months, and then finally asked to become exclusive. What I say, they find their guy in their mid-20s that they can hope they can be on the way to the altar. But I'm willing to bet you this dude would have said, hey, you know what? I want to get settled down. She probably would have dropped this guy. This bitch. And this poor guy wasted 6 years of his fucking life with her for this. In the beginning, he says, I'm angry and ranting. Brother, you have every right to be angry. You have every right to rant. And believe me, you got tens of thousands of dudes around the world that are going to hear your story and are sympathetic to your situation. We got your back. But I just don't want you to have anger forever. Okay, back to her bullshit. Where did I leave off? Ex-boyfriend from high school, blah, blah, blah. I guess when her parents told her that I was there to surprise her with a proposal, she lost her shit. Well, she just lost her chance. She had 6 years. She invested 6 years of her life, even though she's an a-hole and was cheating. Now she's got to go find somebody else, but she's now in her 30s, guys. She's now, or about 30 years old. Her prime is ending, and his prime is beginning. He said she wouldn't admit how long it had been going on, but she admitted at least a year. At least a fucking year. It could have been going on the whole time. I asked him to thank his wife for being so kind to me over the years and told him that I would miss them both, but under no circumstance was Manny to ever talk to me again. Good. Bro, your heart must have felt like been ripped out like that villain in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom and then stomped on by a whole bunch of bulls, amongst many other things. But I'm so glad that you didn't break down or try to listen to her bullshit or anything like that, because you would have had a miserable fucking life. He said he understood, apologized, and again hung up. That was 6 years of my life down the shitter. For the next couple of hours, I destroyed everything in my apartment that reminded me of her. That was a summary of the worst day of my life. I don't blame you, man. I would have destroyed everything too. And yeah, I can definitely see that was the worst day of your life. If there's a silver lining to this whole thing, at least you didn't marry her. That would have been the worst day, because then you're stuck with her and the legal consequences and all that, and now you're with her. And she would have knew that kept on the affair, guaranteed. I'm not sure if I was in shock, but the tears and pain didn't come for a few more days. Mostly I felt like a zombie. She didn't listen to what I told her dad, and I'm coming to my place later that night, but I ignored her. Of course she didn't listen to your dad. And what I tell you in the beginning, guys, about how women, they build up a perception of who you are, and typically he's nice and he's a doormat. Not that I'm saying you're a doormat, but you get my point. And his final words was no, and she still showed up anyway. What was she out there in the front yard with with her phone playing music? Like you got that movie Say Anything with John Cusack, that corny ass movie with him holding the boombox. All you 80s guys out there know what I'm talking about here. Except she was out there with her iPhone playing music or something. The following week, she was doing everything she could to talk to me, and when that didn't work, she started sicking her friends on me. At least until I cussed them all out and said if they didn't stop, I was going to get a restraining order for harassment. Good for you, bro. I would have done it anyway. What the hell were her friends saying? I bet you they were probably twisting it around, guilt-tripping you like, why won't you listen to her? Why won't you give her a second chance? 6 years you were with her and you're not going to listen to her? Like it's your fault. I know there are some guys that need the details or some kind of closure, but none of that really matters. Knowing more isn't going to change what happened. True. It's been almost 10 months since that day, and I haven't talked to Mandy, but she is still trying. She's still trying because she is now in her 30s. And while you can have darn good-looking gals in their 30s, don't get me wrong, her prime has ended. Your prime, brother, has just begun. You're in your early 30s. You're off in your career. You're certainly, life is wisening you up quite a bit to reality. And I'm sure she's probably good looking, because you wouldn't be dating an ugly chick. But she is not as physically appealing as she once was in her 20s. It's not going to be as easy for her. But for you, it's only, your prime is only getting started. At one point, our mothers came over to see if there was any way I would try to work things out. What the hell, Mom? No, not going to work things out. But when I told them no, they didn't press it. Okay, good. I thought long and hard about the why she did it, and I simply cannot understand it. Dude, don't put your mind through that mental gymnastics, that hell. You're not going to be able to figure it out, because she doesn't give a shit. But the only conclusion I came up with is this. She cheated on me because she wanted to. Nothing else really matters. Really doesn't. SSM, sorry for the rant, and I'm not even sure if there are any lessons that can be taken from this. There are always lessons, brother. But I'd be interested to hear if you caught something that I didn't. Anyway, thanks for the work you do. For now, I think I'm going to focus on putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. Bro, that's all you can do. That's it. And you were there for 6 years. And it's going to take you more than 10 months to get over. Some dudes, it's interesting, some dudes go through situations, one form or another like this, and like that, they're done. Really. They're that numb. They're dead inside. They move on. Other guys takes years to get over it, so nobody can blame you if it's going to take you years to get over her. And never want to do a relationship again after all that, because, again, it was seemingly the perfect relationship. Now, again, I caught on to the fact that it took her 6 months to get you to do the exclusive relationship. Sure, it was good she brought the being exclusive, as the gal should do it. A lot of guys rush to lock her down, and it's a bad mistake. So that was good. You didn't push the relationship. She did. But the fact it took her 6 months to do that, it's almost like she was really making sure there wasn't any other better options to come along. I mean, 6 months, I'd get if it was a month or 2 months or 3 months, but 6 months? Also, when you did go out, the fact that she asked you out and wanted to pay for the dinner and pick you up and all that, it seemed a little, I got to lock this guy in now. That type of thing caught me off. Yeah, it was a little, something was there. And then, of course, the going off on the weekends a lot to see the family. Now, anybody would think, okay, she's shown me no reason to not trust her. But that is an example of, if you're a relationship guy, it's like the old Ronald Reagan saying, trust but verify. You got to do that. You got to keep your eyes open. Or unfortunately, bullshit like this can happen. And again, he described her. You remember, guys, in the beginning of the story, as traditional family. The values were very similar on wants and goals and all that. And still, for Lord knows how long, she's sneaking off to hook up with her ex-boyfriend, who I guarantee you was the bad boy type, probably the one she really wanted. No offense. But it wasn't the type that she could lock down. And so she made sure she found a guy that she certainly probably liked and was attracted to and had fun with, but didn't give her the butterflies that the ex-boyfriend did. But bro, you are now all the wiser. And again, the silver lining is, if we can find one, is two things. One, her prime has ended, your prime has begun. And two, you could have married her. You could have married her, then found this shit out, and then you'd be dealing with the fact that you're married now. And then dealing with that bullshit, the divorce, and Lord knows how things would go depending on where you live, the state, and all that. So my only recommendation is, like I do with all the guys that have gone through hell and have lived to tell a tale, you learn from this, you share your story, help guys out, and you definitely are. Your story, and I'm sure this wasn't easy writing this and sharing it with the world, will help out some guys. And so I thank you for that. It takes balls to do that. And take it one day at a time as you are. Focus on things that make you happy. Hanging out with your family, your friends that you truly know have your back. Doing the things you enjoy, the hobbies. I would recommend, as always, exercise. Riding a bike, going for a jog, going for a skateboard. I don't care what you do. Hitting the gym. Just get out there and move. Don't fall into the dark abyss of alcohol or drugs or that bullshit, And if you have a career that you really like, keep on keeping on with that career, rising up in your company or mastering a skill that may one day give you a business for yourself, that type of thing, and you will move on. And for all that is sacred and holy, if she is still fucking bugging you after 10 months coming up on a year, I think it's high time to get a restraining order. I don't think it's going to hurt you that much to do that. You made it clear, leave me the fuck alone. And of course, all her asshole friends too. That'd be a fun little thing to slap on her as well. Anyhow, bro, I wish you well. And if anything happens, if there's any updates to her or your situation, definitely write in down the road. Let us all know how you're doing, because I guarantee you, a lot of guys are going to be wondering. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Give this guy a shout out. He's been through hell. Let him know that he's got support. This really helps out guys around the world. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.